it's a very attractive skill or trait, I think. However, you did quit working out. Like you, I think the words that you used were you let yourself go, so you hadn't been to the gym in 12 or 15 years. How did you look at health before, and how are you looking at health now?
When you're younger, you realize that you can sort of do whatever you want and your body's just going to be sort of bounce back to what you want it to be. And then after 40s or even 30s, you just don't have that anymore. And I didn't necessarily have the will, I guess, or the commitment to want to do the things that I did prior to this getting older, right? You become a parent, a dad, and there's a lot of other things that time and just a lot of other things that come into play. And that's sort of an easy thing, or it was for me, an easy thing to sort of put on the back burner.
Tracy, your wife has tried to get you back in the gym for a long time, but I think like you probably were looking at it like that's her decision. She wants me to get back in the gym. And when did it click for you then? When did you decide to sort of, move from interest to commitment?
Just being ready. I think that it was pretty inspirational, the things that we started talking about. And I can remember that first H40 meeting, and I was just sort of hooked. I was excited to sort of start this new chapter in my life, I guess, if you will, sort of going back to what I remember, and getting into the just having the body that I see myself as having. Like over the years, it's been things have been under there, but they've been covered up. So sort of getting back to that.
Yeah, we tend to sometimes visually see ourselves, especially if we're positive mentally, right? Good mental strength. We might even see ourselves in better shape than we actually are. Yeah.
For sure.
Which that can go the other way. We can be in pretty good shape, and we can see ourselves in terrible shape if our mental strength is down. So that's an amazing. There's a great book, Psycho-Cybernetics. Maxwell Maltz talks about self-image and why that's sort of the root cause for improvement or regressing in many areas of our life. It's how we view ourselves. So then you were able to move from interest to commitment.
For sure. Like now and during that time, it was like I put that as a top priority.
Yeah.
Really. And I think it was just a matter of prioritizing what was important and then why it was important.
Right.
Like as I was very, sitting around over those years, it's like, in the back of your mind that can't be the best thing for you.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just like, you have to come to the realization and prioritize that's what I'm going to do.
Well, what was your why then? Because I think that's why, like, I believe that human beings are complicated creatures, and most of us, maybe all of us, need to understand why. We need to have a powerful reason why. So why did you want to get healthier physically, mentally?
Yeah, I think just physically for sure, for the kids, right? Like they're active, they're growing up, and I want to be able to do things with them. I want to be able to not be sitting on the couch or not telling them that I didn't want to do something because I felt sluggish or I felt tired. So I think that was a big part of it. Just sort of wanting to be more involved.
Yeah. Josh, where do you think your physical mental health is right now? Like, are you excited? You just started H40 the second time around.
Yeah.
Why a second time around? Like, why are you excited not to do it again?
Yeah. I felt like, I was really, really happy with the results from the first time. Like, I think that when you go into it, you don't necessarily know of the type of transformation you can make. You don't think 6 weeks is that long.
Right.
Right. So I think that going into this the second time, I feel like I'm even more motivated because I sort of have a baseline that I set with the first one, if I could accomplish that same stuff, I'll definitely be super psyched.
Yeah. So we have this 6 weeks. We have Adam We have eat, which is eating for energy, paying attention to what you're eating and the timing or the order in which you eat food. We have move, which is muscle, oxygen, variability, and exercise. We have hack, which is healing the body through analysis and then applying that knowledge. We have flow, which is our environmental health approach. And we have rest, which is, right, how to sleep better at night, because many experts think that sleep is half the battle and diet and exercise is the other half. So sleep is that important. What made the biggest impact on you the first time, and what are you most excited about the second time?
So I think what made the biggest impact for me was Adam. Yeah. I think that, the concepts in that are pretty simple.
Yeah.
Right. But it's super powerful too. So I think that was the thing that really resonated with me in the first time. And I think it's still going strong. Like, I still really believe in those.
Well, hi guys. Thanks for being with us. Hopefully everything's up and running. You can see and hear us just fine. I'm Tony, if we haven't met.
And I'm Greg.
This is Greg. We are here for week 3 of our coaching calls for this H40 sprint. And today we're going to be talking a lot about movement and exercise. That's what we've been focusing on this week in the new module. And I'm curious how that's going for people because, one of the things we talk about in this module is that there are tons and tons of fitness programs out there that you could be a part of. If you are just trying to get shredded or you want a magazine cover body, there's other options. What makes H40 different and what we're trying to do that's different with our approach is help change your attitude towards movement and exercise. I don't know what your experience has been, but I think there are a lot of people who view exercise as just a means to an end. I'm just going to do it because that's what stands between me and the kind of body that I want, or that's what stands between me and feeling good. There's sort of this end goal. If I hit a certain number on the scale, then I'll be happy. And exercise is just this grueling punishment thing I have to do to get there, or to make up for poor choices with my eating. And I think that's just kind of totally backwards. I think there's a whole other way that we can frame this, where exercise itself, the process itself, becomes the gift. And that's the thing that you look forward to. And so for me, beginning to see my body as a gift was the start of this, like recognizing, and we have some other videos about this on our YouTube channel you can check out, but that before anything else, we have received a great gift to be here, to be embodied in this physical world, to be able to move around and breathe and sweat and run and feel the blood pump through our veins. Like, that is a gift to feel alive like that. And part of honoring the gift giver is stewarding the body well through both what we eat and then how we use it, what we do with it. Do we get it moving or not? And it's my hope that as you've dug into this module and this week you've started to implement some exercise into your daily routines, that you've been able to find some joy in it, that it doesn't have to be a punishment, it doesn't have to be a slog or grueling, but even by picking activities that you really enjoy and love doing, you can start to look forward to movement being a regular part of your life. So I just think the mindset thing is really important.
And Tony, you've said, I've known you for 10 years almost, and you've had a beautiful thought process that it's something we get to do, that things like movement, things like going to the gym, it's something you get to do. It's not something you have to do. And going to work, it's something you get to do. It's not something you have to do. Waking up in the morning, deciding to get out of bed, it's something we get to do. We have the privilege. We have the opportunity to find the beauty in everything all around us, and right, we get to do that. We don't have to do that, and that is such a subtle shift, but powerful shift in mindset that if you apply to everything, especially movement, because exercise, getting healthier mentally, physically, for most of us seems hard or seems complex, and it might even be a little bit hard at first because we're changing rhythms.
It takes effort,
It takes some effort, and over time though, and so luckily with H40, definitely inside of 40 days. I don't know exactly how long it's going to take you for that hard to become easy. But for me now, I've developed that rhythm of movement, of actually going to the gym, like strength training, weight training. I'm super excited to talk to you guys about, some new concepts like the muscle switch, the little switch in the body that activates muscle growth. And so I think just looking at this as something we get to do, not have to do. For me, it would actually be almost torturous to not be able to get to the gym and move now.
I love that you said that, because for me, like, there was a helpful thought experiment that shifted this for me. I remember years ago deciding, I think I'm going to go for a run. You know, aren't you like healthy people run, don't they? And I should probably do that. And so I'm not a runner. I have not liked cardio for a long time. And so I just got out there and started to run around the streets. And within like, I don't know, a few minutes, my eyes were watering and my mouth was phlegmy and I'm like struggling to breathe, really having a miserable time. And one day I came across this stoic thought experiment, this exercise. You can ask yourself the question, it's called the last time thought experiment, that there will be a last time for everything that we ever do. And just recognizing that reframes things a bit. Like imagine if you knew you were eating your last meal. Do you think you would eat it differently? Would you chew a little more slowly? Would you pay closer attention? Or if you knew that you were it was the last time you were going to kiss your spouse, how are you going to kiss them? Is there going to be a little more passion there, a little more appreciation there? And what if you knew that you would never be able to walk again? If you knew it was the last time I'm going to be able to get up and walk, or the last time that I'm going to run. I mean, that day will come for all of us, that at some point our bodies, unless there's some incredible breakthrough in technology, which would be really awesome, and we're hopeful for that, but at some point our bodies wear out. Eventually they're going to wear out, and we'll have to come to terms with the fact that we need to let this body go and await what comes next. And I'll tell you, in those moments, the fact that I know one day I won't be able to run helps me now to appreciate that right now I can run. And maybe it doesn't have to be this sweaty, miserable, crying experience. Maybe I can enjoy the burn of my lungs and the feeling of blood pumping through my body and appreciate it, because there will be a last time to that. So maybe that's helpful for you too. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think that works perfectly with, you know, we get to do this. We don't have to do it. Okay, so if we're talking about moving, we're talking about one of the key ways, one of the big levers we can pull to get mentally stronger and physically stronger is movement.
Yep.
And we call it building muscle, oxygen, and then variability and exercise. And we're going to go over these three things in detail today. But muscle is sort of this thing that for most of us, we think we know how to build it. We think we can build it by going to the gym, but really muscle is like your body is in one of three phases. It's either growing muscle, so meaning it's adding more muscle each day or each week. It's either maintaining its current muscle mass or it's losing its muscle mass. So you've talked to our students about how, each decade, okay, once we get past, let's say 22, 24, 25, 5 years old, every decade we lose 3 to 5%, even a higher percentage of our muscle mass, which, we don't have, a lot of us don't have an unlimited supply of muscle to begin with. If we have 30 pounds of muscle or 40 pounds is a pretty significant amount of muscle on our bodies. And that's all muscle mass on your body. Okay. Lean muscle mass. So talk a little bit about that. Like what is that process called?
Yeah. So it's called sarcopenia. It starts at least by age 30, if not a little earlier. And it's this idea that without deliberate strength training, without going out of your way to maintain and build muscle, the natural state of things is for our bodies to atrophy starting age 30, around 3 to 5% of your muscle mass each decade, which really adds up. By the time you're in your 60s, that's quite a bit of muscle mass that you've lost. And it's that lost muscle mass that can contribute to tons of age-related diseases and injuries. Think the falls that start to happen, your stability goes down. There have been studies done that link increased muscle mass directly with like a dramatically reduced all-cause mortality. So it's not something that I think especially maybe a lot of women think about. Like guys, I don't know. I know plenty of guys who want to be big and buff and strong. But I know women who actually actively avoid that because they don't want to have that aesthetic. They don't want to come across looking too masculine or bulky or something. And so they never do any strength training. And I think that's a mistake. I think we all, men and women, should be doing some strength training because, I mean, we all need muscles. We all need to move. Our bodies need to function. Doesn't mean you have to look like the Hulk, but some deliberate strength training, I think, will be really important to staying healthy and mobile as you age.
I saw this image the other day of 5 pounds of lean muscle mass, and it was basically was, let's call it this big.
Yeah.
Okay. And then 5 pounds of fat was like this big. So I think women think, right, for the most part, some men, I want to lose weight. Really what you want to do is lose fat.
Yeah.
When you lose fat, you get healthier, especially visceral fat. And we talked a lot about this last week. We talked about how to activate the fat switch. And just a quick summary of that is the body does have a switch in the liver, specifically the amount of glycogen in the fuel tank in the liver. So the liver stores glycogen. So this, when we eat carbs specifically, the body converts it to glucose in the bloodstream, very small amount, and we use that immediately for energy, for walking, for breathing, for exercising, for doing whatever, for thinking. If we're in deep work thinking, the brain uses a considerable amount of energy. And that will tap into the glucose first in the bloodstream, and then it taps into the glycogen in the liver. That's sort of its preferred fuel source, okay? And we preach metabolic flexibility. Like, we believe that the body, you want to condition your body to be able to burn both fat and carbs and glucose and glycogen for energy. And when you do that successfully, you're increasing metabolic flexibility, and you can do that through diet and through exercise. We talk about carb fasting. We talked a lot about this last week. We released the carb fasting cookbook. We actually have a book, that's complete, and we're formatting. That's going to go sort of at the front of the carb fasting cookbook for you guys. We're super excited, but it's really called The Fat Switch, and the simple science behind how and why the body decides to use fat for fuel, right? Because that is the big thing. That's the nebulous idea that most people, 90% plus, don't really understand. And I think we're turning a lot of light bulbs on in people's heads when we explain the fat switch in that way. Like, you can by fasting from carbs, just a few days a week, we can deplete the glycogen in the liver, which in turn helps activate that switch to want to burn more fat for fuel. And you can accelerate that through exercise, through movement. And so I think that that's a key sort of building block for what we're talking about. That's why we talk about, eating for energy and the fat switch and being aware and timing, like our diets or dietary approach before we talk about movement. They're both important, super important. But let's get into muscle, because I think a lot of us, we know that we need muscle. So I'm going to assume that everybody watching right now understands that they want to be in a muscle growth mode. It's yes, you can have too much muscle, but very few people are walking around
pretty hard to get
too
there.
much muscle.
Yeah.
We believe that balance is everything. If I look at my body, I have, I think, 52 pounds of lean muscle mass. The last time I looked at my in-body scan, it was about 52 or 54 pounds of lean muscle mass.
That's quite a bit.
I really don't want to get more muscle.
Yeah.
I don't want to be more muscular. There are guys and some women who are more muscular than I am, but I think I'm at that upper threshold for what right the amount of muscle that I want to carry around.
Yep.
But I don't think so I have too much muscle. I'm not at the threshold where, it's actually becoming unhealthy for me. So most of us, right, should be focused on increasing lean muscle mass, okay? Reducing fat, especially visceral fat. So how do we do that then? How do we increase lean muscle mass? Well, let's look at protein, because muscle cannot grow without protein, right? We're eating and drinking macros, so proteins, fats, and carbs. I had a great call with Amanda Liptak yesterday.
She's on
nutritionist, dietitian. Amanda is on the call. I see that. Yeah,
Terry, hi.
We had an incredible call, almost an hour, about just health and wellness, and we're going to release that to you guys too, I think, next week. But we talked about the macros, right? Everything we basically put in our mouths is a macro: a carb, a fat, a protein. Well, carbs and fats cannot be converted to amino acids to build
muscle. Right.
So it's only protein. So here's a light bulb moment for most people. If you went on a zero protein diet, there's a 0% chance that you could grow muscle.
Right.
Okay. And there's a cool process in the body. It's called protein sparing. And basically, if you have, like, if we're consuming protein to either maintain the muscle we have or grow muscle, the body won't really want to use that as an energy source if it has enough fats and carbs. So it's called protein sparing. And because we essentially, the protein that we do consume, we don't want to use it for energy. Right. We want to use it for cellular growth, like, actually creating new muscle. And when we do things like weight training, strength training, which we're going to get into, we're tearing the fibers of our muscles, and they need to be built back up with amino acids and essentially provided by the protein we're consuming, whether it's through So through foods or protein shakes or whatever, that's the right way to get protein to repair the fibers and actually grow muscle. And I think that's a big aha for people. Like we know we need to get protein. So how much protein should we be getting? Well, to grow muscle, there's again, the zero protein diet, which I don't think anyone is advocating for. Exactly. Yeah. That's not going to work. But if we're a 200-pound adult male, they say 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight per day. So that'll be 200 grams of protein a day.
Yeah.
I'm sure you talk to 10 nutritionists and you might get 10 similar answers, but not identical. But let's just say 1 gram of protein per pound per day. So 200 grams. We could probably grow muscle in that environment. If we're getting 120 grams, 130 grams, we're probably in a maintenance mode, no matter how hard we work out. No matter what we're doing at the gym, we're just not giving the muscles enough fuel to grow.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think, again, we have to think like, are we growing, maintaining, or worsening our muscle mass? And we probably at least want to be maintaining, right, over time. And we probably want to be growing muscle mass. And the only way to do that is adequate protein intake.
Yep.
I think that's a key. So we talked about muscle loss over time. Let's talk about this muscle switch.
Yeah.
This is a relatively new idea. We're in the process of writing a white paper on this, and we have the fat switch, right? We have the liver and the amount of glycogen that's in the liver, which activates whether the body's going to burn or store fat. There is a muscle switch in the body, and it's looked at as the mTOR pathway. So the mechanistic target of rapamycin. Now, I don't want to talk too much about this and go too squirrely out there, because this was actually sort of found right on Easter Island. So
that's
where they
wild.
have a big stone,
the big
like
Stonehenge.
Yeah, exactly. Not Stonehenge, but the big Easter Island type heads or whatever. So this is a protein kinase. Like rapamycin is a protein kinase that basically tells the body to grow muscle or conserve it. And so it's a very fascinating, and it has everything to do with the amount of protein we're getting and the amount of anaerobic, like strength training exercise that we're doing. Those are the two big key levers.
Combined.
So we're not done with this white paper yet, but we're going to be releasing that, because that effectively is the muscle switch. And there's a counterintuitive concept here where, if we look at like the blue zones, those parts of the world where people routinely live past 100 years old, they're not generally weightlifters. They're not walking around with a ton of muscle. No, they're not doing that. They might not even go to the gym.
Yeah.
So there's almost this reverse effect. You think that muscle is great, and we're saying it is great, okay? But when the body is in the muscle building mode constantly, like when this mTOR pathway is activated on all the time, that produces a lot of stress, and the body is just growing. So it's growing good stuff and also bad stuff, like cancer cells, right? So that's why turning off the mTOR pathway occasionally, weekly and monthly, so it's actually net positive for us from an anti-aging perspective, because autophagy kicks in. Again, we're going to include a lot of this inside of the white paper for you guys, but I just find it fascinating that the body actually has a switch which tells it to actually grow muscle if it's getting enough protein, and if it has the need in the muscles, if the fibers are torn, right, through hypertrophy, or conserve, like go in this conservation mode. I think that's super
huge.
Powerful.
Yeah, and we're kind of finding, this is sort of the theme that runs through everything Freedomology does, but like that balance is everything. Balance is everything. Like, you need muscle mass. It's really important. Too much is unhelpful. Too little is unhelpful. There's kind of this sweet spot in the middle. Like, you need to take rest days, you need to work hard, and you need to sleep hard. There's just this balance to it. I would say, just on building muscle, a couple of maybe tips if you're new to this and you're like, okay, I hear you, I need some muscle mass, I haven't done strength training in forever. A couple of small tips if you're going to start incorporating this into your movement would be focus on form over weight, meaning don't just think I have to get in there and lift the absolute heaviest thing I can. Much better to lift less weight with completely correct form than it is to try to, compromise on your form and really struggle to swing some big bar up. Like, that's just not helpful. So drop the ego. Don't worry about what other people are thinking when they look at you in the gym and how much weight you're doing. It's about your mind and your muscle having a connection so that you are mentally engaging the kind of the exact muscle that you're wanting to work out. And then I would say, like, go slow. We talk about time under tension. So I don't know, if you look at these CrossFit guys, and God bless you if you do CrossFit, it works for a lot of people, but sometimes I see them like throwing themselves around the bar and swinging as hard as they can. It's like, you can actually do far more work with less reps by just slowing down the movement. If you are doing a curl, for example, just like letting that thing go down as slowly as you can.
And negative rep.
Yeah, negative rep.
I call it constant load, time
Yeah.
under tension. So bodybuilders, there's a big difference in the gym rats, whether you're a weightlifter or a bodybuilder. So bodybuilders, traditionally, you can grow muscles faster by time under tension, by slow controlled movements. And so that's why you'll see like the fittest looking people. And I guess you can reach a point as a bodybuilder where it looks sort of funky. It looks fake,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
And I'm sure anabolic steroids have
Something to do with
have
that.
a role in many of those physiques. But we're talking non-steroid users. So we're talking real people, you, me. And so when we're wanting to build muscle, time under tension, constant load is very important. We have inside the workbook, we have the Super 7 workout. And I think if there was ever a perfect workout invented, and I know this is subjective a little bit, but it would allow you to build muscle mass, so grow muscles.
Yep.
It would increase our VO2 max. So it would increase or improve our cardiovascular health.
Yep.
And the functional aspect of health and like feeling good is lengthening your muscles, like the stretching. My
Mobility,
biggest,
yeah.
my final frontier as it comes to physical health, the manifestation of physical health for me is stretching.
Yep.
You know, I haven't done it consistently for the last 20 years. I'm doing it consistently now, and I'm still I'm noticing improvement, but it takes time. But it's rolling over in every other aspect of my life. Like it's actually helping me golf better a little bit, if that makes sense. And so I think the perfect exercise would allow us to build muscle, increase VO2 max, lengthen our muscles, stretching. So we've developed Super 7 to do that. So Super 7 is in your workbook. Over the past couple of weeks, we've recorded a bunch of videos showing the proper form for Super 7. So we're in the process of putting these videos together. We'll probably create one sort of master video to give to you guys, the community, to help show you exactly what, one rep or 2 reps on a bench press is, or dumbbell flies, or dips, or push-ups, right? So there's weight training and then body weight training exercises. We can talk about those in a second, but essentially what we're trying to do with Super 7 is, again, if you go to the gym and you look at a gym rat, they're going to do a set of bench press or a set of squats. They're going to take 1 to 3 minutes break in between the next set. What we recommend is combining, don't take a break between those sets. So you're going to move from bench press to maybe leg extensions to 30 seconds of stretching or yoga posing, back to bench press. So that body part that you hit hard for 7 reps, let's say, you will wait probably 3 minutes before you hit it again, but you're hitting another body part in between. And so you're keeping your heart rate up. So you're actually combining anaerobic with aerobic activity. And I used to do this.
It's intense, man.
Yeah, exactly.
It's exhausting.
5 years ago, I did this pretty consistently in the back weight room at UXL where I work out. And I had some friends, and we'd do this circuit together. And it'd take about 25 minutes. And we did a pure 77, we call it.
Yeah.
So 7 reps, 7 sets of 7 different exercises. And we move from one to the other nonstop.
No breaks.
Nonstop, no breaks. Your heart rate is up.
I bet.
You're sore. You definitely get the strength training aspect in. I would say I've since moved to, because at my gym, I can't reserve 7 machines or 7 setups, like 1 or 2 max. I'll put my water bottle down next to one and then my phone next to the other. And I'll move back and forth between 2 different exercises essentially, but I'll be doing 7 reps. And I'm not always doing 7 sets or 7 different exercises. So I'll do a 47, for example. So that's 4 different exercises, but still the 7 reps, 7 sets. So you're getting through that circuit. And that's just an incredibly easy and efficient way to grow muscle, to increase VO2 max, and to actually strengthen. And so I make sure not now to really like on each rep, it's the elongation of the muscle fiber. It's not like curls. If you're doing curls, you're not just stopping here and you're not just contracting.
Full range of motion.
You are contracting that muscle, right? So you're going all the way out, stretching, pausing, and that time under tension is critical.
Yep.
I think that that's just an incredible way to work out. Now you talk to a swimmer and they'd say swimming is the best way to work out, but we're talking about how to attack all three at one time. Super 7's an incredible way to do that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So let's talk about weight training, strength training. Like you're pretty strong.
Thanks,
we went to the gym a few weeks ago. And Tony, I don't know, what do they call that?
I don't know, like the
pegboard
pegboard thing where you're trying to climb.
Yeah, Tony ripped from bottom to top, no problem.
I'd never tried that before.
All the way back down.
Yeah.
It was pretty impressive. I would bet that less than 2% of the population can grab those pegs and actually climb a board just using their hand strength and arm strength. So no feet, so no legs. It's not like a rock wall. I mean, it's literally just upper body. But what would be a way that you could do Super 7 without going to the gym? If you had to do it, I mean, you could do push-ups and sit-ups.
So
you have that in the workbook.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of years ago, and this might be perfect for some people, like whether you don't want a gym membership, can't afford a gym membership, you don't want to be around other people, whatever reason, or maybe you've injured yourself in the gym. Years ago, I was injuring myself too much in the gym for a 20-something-year-old. Like I think I was just probably trying to lift too heavy and had bad form and stuff. And so I decided, forget this. I'm going to do all calisthenics, which is all body weight stuff. Turns out you can do a lot with just your body weight. Like you don't have to get huge, big plates in some big gym. There's a fantastic calisthenics subreddit that was a great resource for me where I learned a ton. Some guys on YouTube that I was following. Just about every muscle group that you can hit, but you're only using your body weight. And I just found for me, the chance of injury went way down. So it's things like air squats, pistol squats, crunches, core stuff.
Yeah, for some people, like if you can't do push-ups or you can't do a bunch of push-ups, if you're not Josh Tobias, as an example, who rips off 70 push-ups when he rolls out of bed in the morning, right? Then 7 reps, 7 push-ups might be enough for you to get going, right?
Or
like
maybe you need to modify the exercise. Maybe you're on your knees at first and not on your feet, you know, like just shorten the length. There's ways to modify these things to meet wherever you're at in your fitness journey.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
We should talk about VO2 max. I was going to say you mentioned it there a little bit, but this is not something that I have not trained for this the way that I should, because you've been telling me that this will sort of be one of the biggest levers you can pull on increasing your energy overall. And it's counterintuitive because when I think about doing exercises that would improve my VO2 max, they sound exhausting. They don't sound like they would energize me. But what you would do is flood your system with oxygen, right? And improve your body's ability to use oxygen. That's
so I think VO2 max is a number. It's a measurement of how your body consumes oxygen during aerobic exercise or even anaerobic exercise. So how well your body is at processing oxygen and using it, because it needs oxygen to do just about everything.
Yeah.
So I look at oxygen is energy. Like as my VO2 max has increased, my energy level has increased. They are directly proportional.
Yeah.
I would say that most people walking around, their VO2 max is pretty low.
Yeah.
How do we increase VO2 max? Well, we can do high intensity interval training. We want to get to the point where our heart rate is in that upper range, and we probably can't talk during exercise. Like if Tony and I went for a walk right now for 30 minutes, we would, that is called steady state cardio. Okay. Our heart rate is, and that's great for burning fat. Steady state cardio is one of the best things you can do to burn fat. If you know you need to lose weight and lose fat, add steady state cardio. Just walk for 30 minutes a day. If you did nothing else than walk for 30 minutes a day, you would activate your metabolism, and your metabolism is never constant. It's never staying at the same exact rate. It's either getting worse or improving. So just by walking an additive 30 minutes a day, because your body has reached like homeostasis. Like I don't care if you're a waitress and you're walking, 10,000 steps a day, your body's sort of used to walking 10,000 steps a day. It's remarkably efficient at adapting to what you're throwing at it. So you have to, right? This has to be an additive. So you gotta like go for an extra 30-minute walk after work, before work. That's called steady state cardio. We could probably have a conversation.
Yeah.
We're not out of breath.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if we were jogging, or mountain biking, we probably our VO2 max or our heart rate is up, so we're consuming more oxygen. Like we probably can't have long drawn out conversations. We couldn't be doing this call right now if we're doing mountain biking.
Also,
we're chugging up a hill. So that's VO2 max. And so for me, it's high intensity interval training. Okay. I used to go to the gym all the time, and I'd walk on the treadmill for 20 minutes before strength training. Okay. Now I've incorporated some HIIT, high intensity interval training routine, 2 to 3 days a week. I haven't replaced steady state cardio because, again, balance is everything. High intensity interval training, well, actually is a stressor on the body. So it will typically increase cortisol, which tells the body to store fat. So ironically, there's catch-22 with all these things. So you don't want to always do high intensity interval training. There are some theories out there that if you're always pushing the body to the max 5, 6 days a week, and you're realizing why you can't lose weight, lose fat, you're just stressing your body out way too much. Like, give it a break. You're overdoing it. You're running it at a red line. Our bodies are machines. So if we're a car and we're on the Autobahn and I'm going to Porsche 911 or something, I don't want to have it pinged in the red line the whole time for 3 hours. I want to give it a break, right? I want to push it, but take the gas off. So I think that VO2 max can be improved through high intensity interval training. And what's happening to the body essentially is you're helping the body use more oxygen in the body, and specifically ATP, so adenosine triphosphate. That's like the energy molecule, essentially. And that is a little molecule. I think of it as like a little rechargeable battery for our cells. So anytime our cells need to do anything, they need ATP, okay? And when we improve our oxygen, we improve ATP. So they're directly connected. And that's why I say, to me, oxygen is energy. Even though it's more like the manifestation of energy in the body, when we improve VO2 max, we improve our energy. And, in the reverse, when it gets worse over time. But the thing about VO2 max, we can improve it pretty quickly. Over the span of a month or 40 days, for sure, you can dramatically improve it. And the good news is it takes a long time for you to worsen it. However, most of us are in a lifestyle rhythm of just over years or decades of not doing enough physical activity. Never pushing it. That makes sense.
I'd also say too, so I told you that story earlier about how much I hated my experience running. And, the thought of doing high intensity interval training, if I'm going to get on a treadmill and sprint as hard as I can. Now, I did this last week because I was just trying to be disciplined, but that does not emotionally appeal to me. I was like, man, that sounds so fun to just get on a treadmill and push myself till I want to puke. But what I have found are there's other activities that I genuinely enjoy that do push my VO2 max without me focusing on it or noticing it. So for me, for example, mountain biking is a perfect one. That I got into this a few summers ago. Medina has a bunch of great trails around here. And I find that when I'm mountain biking, it almost puts me in like a flow state where it's just me and the trail, and I'm trying not to hit that tree, and I'm trying to get up this hill. And to get up that hill, I have to push my body really hard, but I'm not thinking, great, my heart's pumping fast. I'm thinking just get up the hill, get up the hill, get up the hill. And so for me, I found that's a really enjoyable way to sort of sneak cardio into doing something that's a great way to spend a summer day anyway. So maybe there's an activity like that for you. Maybe it's not sprinting on a treadmill, but it's playing pickleball or tennis or, I don't know, some other activity, basketball, something that would get your heart rate up that you would already enjoy doing so that you don't have to dread it. Like, you should be able to look forward to these workouts.
Yeah. And if you've been at the treadmill, if you've been on the treadmill and it says, hey, you've walked for 2 miles and for 30 minutes, and it's saying you've burned 211 calories.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's good. But EPOC, so, that's like the afterburn. So it's this post-exercise oxygen. So excess post-exercise oxygen consumption, EPOC.
Okay.
That's the formal name for this afterburn effect. So what happens when we go to the gym consistently, we develop a rhythm for movement, whether it's strength training, whether it's walking, whether it's high intensity interval training, whether it's like what I do, all of the above. When we do this, it's not just the exercise itself that's benefiting us. It's having a dramatic benefit on us, both physical and mental health, but it's that afterburn. It's what's happening afterwards. Our body is in our metabolism is just elevated and we're burning more calories at rest. We're burning more calories when I'm sitting at the computer at the office when I get in at 9 a.m. Okay. And especially if we're doing high intensity interval training. So that depletes the glycogen in our liver quickly, because when you're doing anaerobic activity like weight training, throwing weights around or sprinting or jogging intensely or mountain biking, we're burning more glycogen. The body in that moment is not really focused on burning fat. It's using the glycogen in our liver and our muscles to give us that immediate boost, that turbocharge of energy. But what happens immediately after that then, because the glycogen is depleted, just for living the rest of the day, we're burning more fat. So I think that's the beautiful thing, is that like fat, you hear the concept of like fat melting off. That's what happens, is fat just starts to melt off most of our bodies when we apply these things in that way.
Yeah,
I think that's huge.
We have some Q&A, but I don't know, did you have stuff you wanted to hit first, or did we?
No, I think the Super 7, what I'm excited about is this or the muscle switch white paper that we're working on. It's almost done. I'm excited about the Super 7. We have it in the workbook. I think it's important. It's in the workbook. If you're following or tracking in H40, we have, like recommended Super 7 workout routines. But please don't underestimate the power of just a 30-minute walk every day.
Yeah.
It's like consistency is more important than intensity.
Yeah.
I think just every day, just make it a part of your daily rhythm, the morning, noon, or night, after lunch or whatever. And by the way, if you can, walk for 10 or 15 minutes after a meal.
After you eat.
Great for blood sugar, great for insulin sensitivity, great for just healthy, balanced lifestyle for sure.
Yeah. That's good.
I think that's cool. So let's get into
jump into these. So is it, generally speaking, is it better to exercise in the morning or the evening? Do you have an opinion on that?
I like the fasting state the body is in the morning. I prefer in the morning for me. I think I have more energy to give to exercise. And I think from a physiological perspective, like a biological process perspective, I think most people would say that it's probably a little bit better to do it in the morning in a fasting state, because again, we're tapping into our glycogen reserves, and both in the liver and the muscles. But I would say it's best for people to do it whenever you can do it. Consistent.
That's what I was going to say.
Right. Some people love to work out in the evening.
Yeah. Yeah. The best time is the time that you will actually do it. Yeah,
the sustainability.
Yeah,
the consistency.
This was another question, was to do with how do I stay motivated, exercise regularly when I have a busy schedule. It's the same thing. It's like, you have to make a commitment and a choice, but maybe mornings don't work for you. I would say like probably exercising right before bed is not a great time. Like it's probably going to disrupt your sleep if you're getting intense exercise too close to bedtime. But maybe your mornings are just hectic and there's no way you're going to fit in the kind of workout that you want to do in the morning. Maybe you can go for a walk after lunch. Maybe it's when you get home from work. You've got some breathing room there. So it's going to depend on your schedule. But it goes back to the interest versus commitment thing. Like you will need to make it a priority. Okay, how about supplements? Pre-workouts okay, or supplements like creatine okay?
Yeah, for sure. I think creatine is probably the most tested, experimented, written about supplement, weight training, muscle building supplement in the world. And in most, not everyone, but most everyone agrees it's very safe, and it's very, like, it makes you stronger. It helps you build muscle endurance. And so I take creatine. I've not taken creatine for 20 years, but I've taken it recently, and I've noticed a distinct advantage. Not necessarily for muscle size. I'm not gaining weight. I'm actually still losing a little bit of weight, right? Not really each week, but every 2 weeks, I'd say about a pound or so. Like my body is reaching a point where it's developing that rhythm. It's finding that rhythm. Yep. And I don't want to continue to lose weight. I don't want to get to 200 pounds. I'm in the 220s, but I've lived in the 240s, 250s, 260s. I'm 6'2". So I think I feel healthy where I'm at right now. So creatine, absolutely a protein supplement. I take NMN in the morning. It's not necessarily a muscle building, but more anti-aging supplement. in the morning, 1 gram of that. So so nicotinamide mononucleotide. It's really good for mitochondrial health. But yeah, I think supplements.
You've never taken you don't take pre-workouts, do you?
No, I never do.
You don't use
I never have, and I don't.
Yeah. I do. I probably have had a problem with them in the past. Like my relationship with caffeine has been problematic in my life.
Yeah.
But I would say on the pre-workout piece, like there's a few reasons I enjoy them. One is just a boost of energy that I'll get in the gym. Some of them have compounds that contribute to vasodilation so that you're getting more blood flow to your muscles, and theoretically that can lead to more endurance, being able to lift heavier. And then there's just like the feeling of the pump that you get that I just find very pleasant. Like when I'm working out, I like my muscles to feel full and engaged. And so there's that. But there are so many pre-workouts that are just loaded with junk, loaded with added sugar, all kinds of stuff that you can't pronounce. I would recommend the one I'm using at the moment. It's by a company called Just Ingredients. We have their electrolytes and their pre-workouts and their everything. They have protein powders. It's our family's favorite brand because it's super pure, super clean, everything in there, Just Ingredients. So check that out. Okay, let's see. You answered this with Super 7. How can I prevent injuries while exercising, especially as I get older? We kind of addressed that earlier, but I would say it's that focusing on form over weight and even over like intensity. Just prioritize avoiding injury. When I was young and in the gym, it was about showing off and seeing, what's the biggest plate I can lift. And now it's about preventing injury for sure. It's just not worth it because if you're trying to build habits of consistency and you go too hard one day and you injure yourself, you can be out of the gym for weeks. It can throw your whole routine off. So it's way better to start small, scale exercises down if you need to. Like we said with body weight stuff, maybe you can't do push-ups right away, so do them from your knees. Do what you need to modify something so that it works for you. And just because you're watching a video or some picture of a movement being demonstrated, and for you it's causing pain, like pay attention to your body more than the instructor. Your body doesn't lie. If it's hurting you, you probably need to stop doing it.
I think avoid energy by removing ego from the equation. I think
that's great.
Many of us, if you're in your 30s or 40s, we remember how strong we were in our teens and 20s, and we go back to the gym after having been away from the gym for a decade or more. And we're like, we're going to throw the same amount of weight on there because we did it when we were 22. And I think we need to remove ego. We need to work our way up to those levels, and we need to be aware of how our body is feeling. And certain exercises will just be bad exercises for some people. There are certain shoulder movements that I can't do. My flexibility is just not there, especially in the shoulders. So I don't do them because when I do them, I notice that my shoulders kill for weeks afterwards. And so I've taken them out. I've taken I've removed certain exercises from my routine, and it's not an ego thing anymore. And quite frankly, I don't take a notepad to the gym. I don't go to the gym with a notepad and monitor my weights and reps. So I think if we're entering a bodybuilding competition, a weightlifting competition, that's great. Tracking the metrics are important. But for most of us, it's just, if we're looking to build muscle, specifically, there's a school of thought that we have to go to failure. That we don't need to do 20 reps, and on the 20th rep, we just get it up. That it's way better if we're trying to build muscle. Hypertrophy needs to be sort of activated in the body. That's the point where the cells in the muscle fail. Okay. And they cannot get that last rep. So it's better to do 1 or 2 sets of heavier weight. Now, again, we have to ease into this. Okay. But 1 or 2 sets of heavy weight to failure than it is to do, 12 sets of high reps.
And that point.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's important.
I found that too, that when people are new to the gym, the main issue is when it starts to burn, they stop. Like when it's starting to get uncomfortable, they'll stop. I heard someone say recently, I don't count my reps until it starts to burn. Then I start to get, because those are the ones that count. It's the last 5 reps, and then that last one where
it might even be the last 2.
You've actually pushed, you've exhausted the muscle, you got nothing left. That's where the magic happens. That's what triggers the body to be like, okay, we need to build more muscle if we're going to meet this.
There's hypertrophy, which is cells in the muscle getting bigger And then there's hyperplasia, which is the muscles actually producing more cells. There's a lot of scientists that don't even believe that hyperplasia exists, that it's almost impossible to have the cells in the bicep like increase in quantity, that you have what you have in the, like you have to make those cells bigger. So that's hypertrophy. And the only way a cell is going to be bigger is if we push it to the limit where it failed the time before. And then it's like, okay, we need to grow. Like a cell has this intelligence to it. And it's like, we need to get a little bit bigger to push that weight next time.
Yep. This is maybe related. I think this will be the last question is how long should a typical workout be? Like how do I go to the gym for 2 hours? Do I go there for 15 minutes? Like what's the right amount?
Man, I think like we talk about minimum acceptable day. I think a lot of us are like, we get jacked up to get healthier and more physically fit. And we think of everything we could do. And we put on, we almost make a bucket list of, you know, everything we want to do. I think it's far more important to create that minimum acceptable day. Like maybe the minimum acceptable day is 30 minutes of exercise for you, for me. For me, that's really my minimum acceptable day. That could be a walk on the weekends. Walking for a half hour, 30 to 40 minutes is that minimum threshold. I don't spend more than an hour at the gym unless I'm spending, you know, 12 to 15 minutes in the sauna. Typically my workouts are 40 minutes or less.
Yeah.
But I'm not trying to grow a bunch of new muscle, right? My son, Elijah, who's in high school, he'll spend 2 hours in the gym now and he'll work out. He works out more intensely than me. And that's another word of advice. Like maybe don't go to the gym with your kids if you haven't been in the gym in a while, because you'll want to keep up with them.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't want to keep up with them because their body's not your body. And so I think like a typical Super 7 full workout, you could get done in 30 minutes or less.
Yeah.
I think if you are weight training, you're picking 2 body parts a day, 3 to 4 days a week, and then you're rotating. I think, you know, but just pounding like an hour on the treadmill or the Stairmaster, again, you have to balance that steady state cardio for fat burn versus high intensity interval training for VO2 max and afterburn.
Yeah.
So I think if you balance both, again, we say balance is everything, and we believe that we're right when it comes to that.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I think that wraps it for this call. Tomorrow, there's a new module dropping. This next week's going to be an introduction to biohacking, supplements, and a bunch of different techniques for optimizing your health at the cellular level. So
excited about that one too. Excited about the call for next week. Then
That'll be a good one.
There's a lot of questions with biohacking, and there's a lot of science behind like looking at how your like my body inside is different than Tony's. It's different on the inside than it is, you know, as it is on the outside. So cool.